Hello and welcome everybody to another edition of the Quantum Compass. My name is Davyd Farrell. I'm your co-host for today, and as always, I'm joined by my wonderful co-host
Bella Alvaran. Hi everybody, welcome back.
Hey Bella, how are you doing? How has the Blue Eagle been for you?
It's been very up and down. Lots of things coming up. I think it has to do with the solstice and the full moon. So the emotional upheaval has come this way too. So lots of up and downs, and I think lots of people have been feeling them too.
Right, it has been up and down, even with the perspective and a much needed perspective, I would suggest, of the Blue Eagle or the fifth dimensional Eagles Perch perspective. I've definitely needed to go there a few times this week to analyze things. But with that, we're understanding, I think, a new way to deal with situations, right? But we're learning to deal with emotional triggers better, learning to analyze our own reactions to things better, and then asking the question, what's actually causing this? So we do have some theories about that, and maybe we'll touch on that a little bit later. But let's get into this episode. This is episode number 12. So we're 12 out of 13 in our own kind of unfolding wave spell, we can say, with the quantum compass. This is the energy of the yellow magnetic star running from, in the Gregorian world, from June the 25th to July the 7th. So in time-honored tradition, I'm going to hand over to our wave spell expert, the wonderful Bella, to take it away.
Hey, thank you. So I want to start this show with mentioning number 13, because it is key in the Mayan calendar, but it's not only key for the Mayan calendar, it has been key for the many different cultures, for the Essenes, the Egyptians, Polynesians, Celtic, Inca, Lakota, Cherokee, so many different cultures that have understood the importance of number 13, because it is the number of lunar cycles in a solar year. And it represents that sacred cycle of fertility and creative power of the divine feminine. And this is a very important totem, the turtle, because it represents the 13 cycles of the moon, and also the connection to the goddess or the feminine. And this is what I want to get people to connect more to the magic of 13. 13 is everywhere in the natural cycles. It has to do with, it is connected to the cyclical power of cosmic time, which is represented in the Mayan long count. I talk about this in the course. We go into the 13 Bactuns. We talk about the 13 moons of the year. The orbits of Venus, there are 13 orbits around the sun during one pentagonal cycle. There are 13 wave spells, 13 tones in a wave spell. So it is everywhere. Even every 13 years is a cycle, it's a natural cycle. Up to when we're 52, there is a big kind of mission code that clicks in by that time, which is 4 different cycles of 13. Every 13,000 years, we realign with Orion. So the cycle is everywhere around our planet, or everything to do with us. The human body has 13 articulations. Number 13 is part of the Fibonacci sequence. So you can see that it's everywhere. And now we're going from moon number 12 to number 13. That's why I'm emphasizing so much on number 13. So we were working with the rabbit as a totem in the crystal moon, and it finishes on the 26th, and then we switch to the next one, which is June 27 up to July 24th. So in this calendar of moons, there are always 13 moons of 28 days. So you can see here, we start with a whole section of 7 days here in red. I haven't shown you this. So it's 7 days in red, 7 days in white, 7 days in blue, 7 days of the yellow energy, which we are now familiar with. And this is the moon, which the totem is the turtle, and it's the one that connects us to that, to transcendence. It's a cosmic moon of presence. And I know that you're fascinated with turtles. I think you've even had some. And the beauty of it is that on the shell, they have the 13 numbers, which are connected to the cycles. And that's where it has been so important for many different cultures. Anything to comment on the turtle and number 13 there?
Well, of course, as you know, 13 is a special number to me. It is my kin number. And now I'm understanding more perhaps about why I've loved having turtles and tortoises in my life. They've always been, even since I was a kid, I remember going to stay with some friends who had a tortoise wandering around their garden. And it fascinated me as a little boy to look at this crazy looking animal that was a tortoise. And then when I went back, I think the following year, it had gone into hibernation, which also fascinated me as a child. So we can understand that these, both the sea turtles or the land turtles, tortoises, they're very connected to time because they live a very, very long time. And they're fascinating, beautiful animals to be with. The sea turtles are beautiful to swim with if you go snorkeling, or scuba diving. But the land tortoises, they're very, very funny. They roam far and wide. To me, they always embodied the sense of go wherever you want. The tortoises have that sense of freedom, and it doesn't matter how big an enclosure you put a tortoise in, it will always walk around its perimeter. So if it's a small one, it'll walk around. And if it's a big garden, it will always be walking around the perimeter, trying to find a way out. But also, what's probably less well known, Bella, is that tortoises only breathe like 5 or 6 times a minute. They're really able to slow down their heart rate, which is how they're able to go into stasis or hibernation. So I think there's a lot there about being
So if you want to
sensitive.
live longer, please don't
Yeah.
try that. Breathe less.
Well, yeah, I
Don't
mean,
try it at home.
there are people that, just thinking about that, there are incredible people that go free diving, right, to the bottom of the ocean and can
Oh
hold
yeah.
their breath for like crazy amounts of time, 10 minutes even, I think I read somewhere or more. So there is definitely something about reducing the stress on the body, lowering the heart rate, lowering the breathing, which allows us to live longer. And somebody I read once somewhere said that the less you breathe per minute, the longer you'll live. So
And
yeah.
you know what else it reminds me of? Of taking it easy. Chill. Don't
Yeah.
rush. It is, it's a different pace. And so the turtles are here to remind us of that cyclical role of number 13, which connects us to that natural time, fractal
Right.
time, restoration of the memory of the sacred power of 13, and the divine feminine, which is in all things. So it is a very important moon. It's the last one of this cycle. So let's start reviewing this cycle that is finishing on the 24th of July. We will do a special program just to talk about that, about the end of the cycle and the beginning of the new one. A little bit more on the turtle. It represents the ancient primordial goddess carrying the 13 scales on her shell. And it is everywhere in the Mesoamerican cosmovision. And I know that in many native groups of North America as well, it has been super important. And here in the center, I'm trying to show it as all of the different glyphs, the 20 different glyphs around the 13 tones. So that's a perfect representation of the turtle.
Right, and in
Good.
indigenous cultures, Bella, in North America, they also call North America Turtle Island, right? From what we understand. So
Right. Yes. I think I want us to talk more about that in the special program we're going to put together, because it is key and it's even represented in the map of North America, the whole big turtle. So yes, let's connect more to that idea, because it is connecting us to the natural cycle of the planet as well. And here we're finishing the castle. We talked about how these 5 blocks represent, each one of them is a castle, and we're in the final one, the green one. Final castle and final Wavespell is the yellow star. So once we finish this, we'll be completing a whole cycle or a whole soaking of 260 days, and we'll be ready to start again. Okay, so we're getting ready for that.
So Bella, can I just ask you a question about that for our audience?
Yes.
So as we're doing each of these shows, everybody, Bella is extracting different bits of information to share with us, because there's a lot to deal with in this, the Mayan cosmology. And so perhaps if we just go back one slide, Bella, I just want to highlight something. So can you share anything more just about the nature of the 5 castles and the colors again, just to remind people of the sequence of the colors from the red to the white, to the blue, to the yellow,
so
to
the
the
way
green.
that the Solkin starts always with the red color, which is the color of initiation. Then we go to the next color, which is white. It means that the energy is refined. Then we go to the blue color, which is the transformation of the energy. Then we go to yellow, which means ripening, and we end with green, which is the integration of everything.
So
And
we've
then the
been in the green
cycle starts
cycle, right?
again. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we've been in the green. So if I'm understanding this correctly, even across the course of the year with the 5 castles, we can also understand that the first 4 wave spells of the year somehow are more of an initiatory energy. The
Yes.
second 4, or the second castle rather, we can say, are more of the refinement of that. So would we work with this system on the 5 castles more for a long-term project that could be anything up to a year, or
Remember,
longer?
everything is a fractal.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
you could work on 1 wave spell, which is 13 days. You could
Yeah.
work with 4, which is a castle, 52 days. Or you could work with a whole cycle of 260 days, which is a gestation period. It is like how long if a human takes to form. It's how long it takes for corn to grow. So it is a natural cycle, and it connects us with the center of the galaxy. It reconnects us to source and the natural cycle we should be following. Not the Gregorian, which is just an artificial time made by men, which is irrational, illogical. If some months are 28, others 29, others 30, 31, with names of different people that don't even match the months. So there is so much irrationality here. And that was by design, because it was created in the 1500s by the Gregorian Pope, by Pope Gregory. And also around the same time, the clock and all of those devices were also created. So it was a way of bringing time from like the 4th dimension into 3D. And then they start with the whole industrial, well, soon after the whole industrial revolution and everything else, where they just put people into boxes and started to make them work and generate money. And so they made time money. Time equal money, rather than time is art or time is anything we want, but they made it time is money. So that is why it's important to understand that this was by design. It is illogical, and whatever you're following time, the way you follow time, it controls your mind, and your reality is then therefore created by those cycles. So if you change your mind and your cycle, you're changing your reality as well.
Wow. And just to review, also in this green castle, we've got the fractal again, because we had the red moon, the white winds, the blue eagle, and now the yellow star. So there's always that sequence of red, white, blue, and yellow within each castle. So we can see the fractal nature and how to work with the different qualities. And
you can see it here in the Solking too. Look, it starts red, white, blue, yellow, red, white, blue, yellow. It's always the same sequence. And we're finishing here then. We're starting day 248 with the yellow star. And we're going to finish here on day 260, end of the Solking. And on that last day, there is a galactic portal. So it's a beautiful energy with the yellow star. Starts on the 25th of June and ends on July 7th. It's a beautiful energy to reconnect with art, with the stars, with harmony. Because what this wave spell is telling us is get ready to create. You've been dreaming, you've been having the higher perspective on things, but now get ready to create, beautify things, whether it's your home, because we're going into the Cancer energy as well in astrology. Just get something created that shows elegance and beauty and creativity and expansion of love. The yellow star also is a gateway to 5D. It's also connected to Venus in the Mayan cosmology. To take into consideration in this wave spell, maybe a little bit of the shadow aspects, it would be any self-doubt that you still have, any disconnection from higher self, or situations where you're still creating this harmony. We're supposed to go back into harmony and creating a beautiful space to move into a new cycle. Show what you have learned in the last 260 days. Show that level of maturity and beauty of everything that you have learned. Tips on transformation for those energies: keep on cultivating harmony, allow grace and beauty in your life, reconnect to the stars, and bring art into your life. You have here on the right the Solking again. These are the 20 glyphs, the 13 different tones. Jose Arguelles worked also with the I Ching, so he included that in his calendar. And here in the center, we have the representation of Hunab Ku. Do you see that it looks a little bit like a yin yang as well?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And the spiral.
Good. So that is the energy of Lamad, or the yellow star. And these are the questions, like for every wave spell, it is the same questions. Identify the purpose for this wave spell, identify the challenge, identify the service, and so forth. And then on the last day, we'll be finishing this Solkin. So it is quite an important one, very significant, because as soon as it finishes, we go into a new Solkin. We call it a new galactic spin. And we start again on July 8th, right here at the beginning, starting a whole new cycle. And this is going to be the very first wave spell, which we'll talk about in the next show.
Nice.
And
So,
sorry,
yeah.
I'm just going to finish with this. The blue rhythmic storm is the next cycle that starts of the 13 moons, but this is part of the show that we're going to put together. So I'll talk more about the storm, because this is going to be the energy for the whole year coming up, 364 days.
Right. So as Bella says, we've been planning to put a special show together, right, Bella, to look at the end of the year, to look at it from the point of view of the Solkin, the whole year, the whole cycle, what's just happened, and what's going to be the overarching energies of the incoming Zolkin. So please do watch out for that. It's probably going to be out and about, I guess, somewhere between the next 5 to 10 days. We haven't decided exactly, but it will be out before the end of the Mayan year. So probably a good chance also to share this, Bella, again. I was just going to reference, we did a nice deep dive, right, on the whole Gregorian calendar during this Mayan time of magic. Fascinating to go into that and see how our time has been distorted. But anything else you want to share about this?
Because it is the end of the Solkin, I'm going to run for this wave spell. Again, the offer of, if you get the course, you get a free reading. Because I know lots of people wanted to come for readings, and I'm trying to schedule everybody. So if you do get the course, you'll get a free reading of your galactic signature, and you understand what is your wave spell and everything else. So this is going to run until the end of this Solkin.
Wow, amazing. And seen many amazing results, certainly with myself, but also with other members of our tribe and our audience who've had glyph readings, or we can say activations, really, from Bella. It just kind of cements a deeper understanding of your cosmic energies. And once you really sit and meditate with that, Bella, I think you start to see that you have different themes running through your life that have always been there, but you just hadn't really seen them before.
You understand your divine blueprint and your
Right.
galactic archetype. And then you look at the sacredness of time as well. That's part of what you learn, to understand that every day there is an energy that you can get into frequency with. Every day is not just a number like in the Gregorian calendar. It is an energy that you can work with if you know and you tune yourself to it. So that's it for the Mayan side of things. Let's go into the astrology.
Right, so we just put this in here because we've been recording this over the period of the full moon and the summer solstice, and we just wanted to pull up this chart just to sort of review what has been quite a strong wave spell with the blue magnetic eagle, and also this very unusual, I would suggest, Bella, energy of the peak. We can say this is Northern Hemisphere, of course, but the peak of the solar energy and a lot of the world action at the moment is taking place in the Northern Hemisphere. So it is kind of affecting what is happening. And the planet that we're going to look at later in this wave spell is also deeply connected to this period, but it's not just the actual day of the solstice. It's the same as the winter solstice, where you have the sort of the 3 days of darkness and the return of the light. On Christmas Day, we have a similar but opposite effect here, is that we have 3 days of light, and then the process starts to go back into the womb space again.
Well, in many cultures, like in the Incas, right now they are celebrating the beginning of their year with the Inti Raymi. That's when they celebrate, like the sun, the solstice. That is the beginning of their year. So it is a very important time, and this looks, because it is happening, all of this is happening with a solstice and a full moon, and it's on the world axis. It feels like it's a recalibration moment, a resetting of masculine and feminine energies to get ready for a new big cycle. And after what happened with the April eclipse, it feels that we jumped And Zach even confirmed, we jumped into a different cuboid of the universe. So we are in a different holographic reality where there is more, there are more possibilities to manifest and to create what you want. You just need to have the tools and to be able to navigate the astrology. And that's why we put together the quantum compass, because it gives us the map on where you can make certain moves and understand and read what is going on, so you can flow with it better.
Right, that's a really good point. And for those maybe coming to this a little bit late, there was a 40-day process that we were charting both here on the Quantum Compass and with Leslie on the Cosmic History Codes that started with that really powerful April the 8th Chiron Cazimi eclipse. Let's not forget the Chiron Cazimi part of that too. And that 40-day journey, that kind of a so-called ascension process journey, culminated with the Jupiter Cazimi that happened back on May the 18th. If I recall correctly. And so what happened during that period that some of us were able to perceive was that the unfolding of the new cuboid, we can say, the new Earth frequency happened across the planet. It was actually a thing to be able to perceive in the other realms of consciousness. Now, some people might scratch their head and say, but it doesn't feel like we're in a new Earth. And it's like, well, no, because it's an unfolding process. The frequencies of the fifth dimension are much more accessible than they've ever been. The astral planes or the fourth dimension are much clearer than they've, I think, certainly been in my lifetime. And what that means is that we have a much clearer flow of energy now between the 3D, our physical, the 4D, our emotional, and the 5D, sort of non-dual, unconditional love space.
And there are signs everywhere of the artificial matrix falling apart.
Right.
In different countries, all over the place. You're seeing and hearing how all of that false matrix is falling, and now is the time to reconnect with the natural cycles, because I see the old matrix of that Gregorian time falling apart as well, because it was supported by all of the things that are against our own well-being, which was our freedom and creating and health and everything else. So I think this is telling us that we are here in a reset moment to move forward. And that's what we wanted to start with this.
Right. And if we just look at actually the astrology here, there's a few things even I hadn't noticed before, which is that the moon was actually conjunct Ixion, which of course is about bringing things down, destruction, and the realignment to a higher note that we can say, but through perhaps a more, I would almost say, cataclysmic style of energy. However, what I really think we can see here is that opposite that we have both Mercury and Venus with the sun. So it's kind of like adding this energy of like, let's communicate from the heart with the energy of the sun back into the place that needs to be brought down, because sometimes some things need to be deconstructed, and that's okay, to start again, to have a phoenix rebirth experience, which I would suggest is what we're all going through collectively, whether it's immediately obvious or not in the 3D energetically. It's taking place. So I feel like we've got very, very powerful energies here, Bella, and as we come to July the 24th, which is the Feast of St. John, it's almost like those 3 days of peak solar energy have been harnessed, if possible, here onto the planet. But
Did you mean June 24th?
Sorry, June 24th. Yes, sorry, my bad. June 24th is the Feast of St. John. And the planet that we're going to be looking at later is St. John's Wort, which is very connected to this time of year, but getting ahead of ourselves here. So with this particular Wavespell, when I looked at the astrology for it, it was lacking is the wrong word, but it didn't have the same powerful conjunctions that have pretty much been a feature of every show that we've done so far this year, Bella. So it kind of gave me a nudge to have a look at some different aspects that were taking place to see how the picture of this final Wavespell of the yellow star of the year wanted to reveal itself. So there's a lot of words on this particular slide. I appreciate that, so do bear with me, but I'm going to just try and talk through some of the other aspects that are taking place before we look at the bigger charts to build the story. So the first thing that really many astrologers have been looking at in this upcoming Wavespell is Mercury in Cancer trining Saturn in Pisces. And Saturn is going to be going retrograde during this Wavespell, which is a big part of what we want to talk about today. But this particular aspect is really encouraging us to get serious, maybe to kind of get grounded, centered. But as a consequence, it's also really good for doing things like studying, getting details sorted out, kind of professional energy, feeling good about the commitments we're making, but it's also a good time to start thinking about long-term plans, which is kind of why I was asking you about the 5 different castles. It's like, okay, this seems like a good period to bring things in. A lot of the energy of the yellow star is about planting seeds. So maybe it's a good time to start thinking about the upcoming Zolkins. Like, okay, I know what I want to do for the next couple of wave spells next month, but what am I going to do for the rest of this year? What's my bigger targets? And maybe we're being asked during this, what will become obvious review period, to think about that more clearly and carefully. What's in alignment for my long-term or even mid-term future? So that's how we start the wave spell. We then go into day 4, which in the Gregorian world is June the 28th. And we have a couple of things going on there. We have Black Moon Lilith in Virgo is opposing Neptune in Pisces at 29 degrees. So Black Moon Lilith at 29 degrees of Virgo opposing Neptune at 29 degrees of Pisces is kind of strong, I think. But the good news is that Black Moon Lilith is going to pass over that anaretic degree into Leo in just a few days after this. But really what this energy is asking us to do is just to stay grounded. It could be a little, you know, if we think about maybe the energies of Neptune being a little illusory and Black Moon Lilith being sometimes also about the forbidden, it's like, what is the forbidden information that's beyond our vision? 29th degree of Pisces and Virgo is going to bring up some of this kind of stuff maybe in the world of disclosure, and particularly in Virgo, it could be to do with health situations. We'll also come to Black Moon Lilith in a minute, because it's almost like she has something else she wants to say later in this wave spell. But we also have here Chiron and Aries squaring Mercury and Cancer, which is just another opportunity for us to work with any childhood wounding, particularly about not being heard, not being able to speak our truth. And so we've been given another wonderful opportunity here to really consult with Chiron and say, hey, is there some place that I'm stuck? I'm not able to express myself. My ideas can't flow. So if that comes up at all, or if you even have past life stuff, maybe where you feel like you are having throat issues, these may come up for you. So acknowledge them for what they are, and maybe work with a plant like sage or yarrow to help release those throat blockages. Anything you wish to add to that, Bella, before we move on? No, okay.
No, go ahead.
Okay, so let's have a look at Saturn goes retrograde. This is the first of our charts. This is, I think, one of the big energies of this wave spell. So if we could just move that on there, Bella, to the astro chart for the first of these. Yeah, so Saturn goes retrograde in Pisces at 19 degrees, and will retro back to 12 degrees of Pisces, where it goes stationary direct on the 16th of November. Now, what is really interesting, when I looked at this, I was like, that seems to fit the period of the final chapter of our navigation guide to quantum consciousness. And sure enough, the old master of time himself, that day that he goes stationary direct is the very last day, day 13 of the 13th chapter of the navigation guide, which is all about the reconstitution of time. So I thought that was fascinating. I'm like, this is the fractal world at work. We didn't know that when we started this process, but this is really asking us to go into a period of introspection. Saturn reviewing his time in the watery depths of Pisces, understanding, have I learned to be singular in amongst the collective? Am I still able to be my I within the we without losing my sense of self? But do I still relate to everything around me? Am I still interconnected, or am I isolated? So I think we're being asked to look at that. But most of all, what I get from this, Bella, is that we're being asked to meditate on the nature of time itself.
Absolutely. We are in the process of repairing time. And you know what else? Saturn was in Pisces at the time of the creation of the Gregorian calendar and the clock. So we are here coming back in this big cycle, which is telling us, you know, from over 500 years ago, what happened at that point. It is a good time to reset, go back to natural time. I think is what it's trying to show us. And the process that we're doing of the 13 chapters is going to show us also how to kind of move and retune to this natural way of manifesting and creation and moving with time in a natural way.
Right, beautiful. I mean, that's, to me, what came out of that really clearly. But what's also really nice is that on this day, we also have a nice little sextile there between Uranus at 25 of Taurus, and also Mercury in 25 of Cancer. And really, that's just another energy that's inviting
Nice.
us to think independently, to explore unconventional ways of looking at things and problem solving, but also to think out of the box. And I was like, that sounds very much also like reconstituting time, another energy there to get us to think out of the box and say, hey, how do we reconstitute our reality without just basically copying and pasting the old one, which is that I think what has happened a lot before is like, okay, copy and paste, change the coloration of things, some new inventions, carry on as if nothing happened, which when we did the Mayan time of magic, we started to see that this is a series of splices, very, very conscious splices from somewhere, which is perhaps going to come into our other show at some point. And perhaps now we've been given this opportunity to think out of the box, literally the old cuboid box into a new one. So I thought that that was really encouraging. And also we can see here now that Black Moon Lilith has left that perilous 29th degree of Virgo and has entered into Libra. So all good there too.
And here we can see also there was such a busy time with Gemini season. Our mind was so busy, so much information coming from everywhere, so much polarity. And now it's good to see that Mercury and Venus are all in Cancer, and it's a whole different energy of, okay, take it easy, more home, retreat, cozy, comfortable, follow your ideas, follow your intuition, trust on what you're planning to do, create something beautiful. You can create it at home or make your home beautiful. As you said, study things from home if you want to. I like the Cancer energy because it's my ascendant, so it suits me really well. And my moon is in Cancer as well, so it's like, okay, this is familiar territory.
Right, and as we can see here, Mercury is still in Cancer at that point, but it does leave Cancer and enters Leo on the 2nd of July. But yeah, all of the things you just said, super important and relevant, Bella. Mercury in Gemini was a little tough. I think many of us found the energy a little almost information overload, narratives coming at us from all perspectives, difficult to know what's true anymore, or who even is true is another way of looking at it. But for sure, yeah, we've been invited to integrate more of our intuition in our learning processes during this time. And also, I think also being invited, Bella, to see how do we spend our social time at home? How much time do we spend with family? How is our daily life constructed? How are the foundations of our life constructed, and how we're communicating with the important people around us from that place of safety? We can say Cancer is often associated with the home and safety and security.
And it takes, talking from experience as well, it takes a long time to trust and to open yourself up. And so the Cancer energy is always comfortable at home and is where it can be who it truly is. So that's why I like it.
Right, yes.
Likes to hide a little bit.
Especially, yeah.
But the yellow star energy is telling you you can still shine, even if it's from your home. Shine your light, show your light, because it is time to start something new where you feel more confident, more mature emotionally, and ready to move forward.
Well, the beautiful thing about the home is it's a place where we generally, hopefully, feel secure and safe. And so it also gives us the space to investigate maybe things that need looking at, maybe some childhood traumas that we haven't been able to deal with. Maybe they can be allowed to have some space now to come up from the sanctity of our safety space and just to be allowed to be released. And so I think, again, we're just getting this energy, Bella, at this point of the year, just to be observant of what is coming up for us and allowing it to be looked at and say, hey, okay, wow, yeah, that did happen. And okay, how do I feel about that now? Is there still an emotional charge of it? Or do I feel like, it's okay, I've moved through that now and it can be released? And I think that that's a big motif for the second half of this year, is whatever hurly-burly has got thrown up in the first 6 months, is that perhaps now we're being given this more reflective period with Saturn, first of all, going retro, and then Neptune in the minute too, we'll see. But also we've got this energy of Cancer in the home for the rest of this Zolkin as well, really. So definitely, I think that this is a chance for us to review those processes.
And keep on trusting your intuition more and more. And any ideas that you have, keep on going with them if they feel right for you. Good. Are you ready for the next chart?
Yes, let's move on. So powerful day there. Followed just a few days later, really, on the 2nd of July by another big retrograde action, which is Neptune. It didn't quite fancy dipping into Aries, we can see. So about 4 minutes to midnight, decided it wasn't going to do that and would fancy a bit of a review process to go back through Pisces. So there goes retrograde at, I think, at 29:56 from what I could tell. And this, there's a lot happening on this day, actually. We can see here there's a number of other things going on. But first of all, I just want to address the energy of Neptune in Pisces and what that's all about. So we can say that this is also a period for reflection, for reviewing what's come up, particularly in the emotional space, maybe, because there's a lot of water going on here, Neptune in Pisces, right? So lots of introspection and maybe questioning things like, what's my belief system here? I really, really believe that to be true, but now something is showing me that that can't be true. It's somehow incoherent for me. So I feel that Neptune, difficult as this is giving us the opportunity to review the incoherencies, which maybe we've absorbed, maybe we've been given, maybe we've heard, maybe don't make sense.
The illusions.
The illusions
Are still alive, and we need to review and dissolve finally.
Yeah, I like this idea with Neptune. It wants us to make sense of the nonsense, and there's been a lot of nonsense, everybody, I would suggest, for a while now, but not just to make sense of it, but to understand why there has been the nonsense, which is kind of more of the energy of the Blue Eagle, I think, Bella, which is like to not get polarized in your, hey, this is really bad and that happened because this is really good. And it's like, no, there are two sides to every story, and there is no bad, really. There's just a different perspective on why certain things happen. And as we ascend to a more non-dual perspective on things, we're going to need to be able to use these tools to assess and say, okay, well, that wasn't great, and this and this and this happened. But if that hadn't happened, then maybe we wouldn't have got to this place of understanding. So there's always steps on a journey. And I think that Neptune in Pisces retrograde until goes back until December the 7th, only goes a couple of degrees back into 27 because it's very slow moving, but it's going to be hovering around those final degrees of Pisces basically until the end of the year. It does then enter Aries finally. It finally plucks up enough courage to enter Aries on March the 30th in 2025, where it stays until October the 22nd, when it starts to retro back into Pisces until January of 2026. So
wow, so it still has a while to go.
Still has a while to go, but I know many other astrologers out there have been looking at the ingress of Neptune fully into Aries as a major significant point in the process that we're in. So we've still got a bit of work to do, but I love Neptune. I love the Neptunian energy. It can be a little tricksy sometimes, particularly in that final degree of Pisces, which is kind of like the end. And if you remember before, when we looked at the 29th degree Sabian symbol, it was about the butterfly emerging from the chrysalis, which I think is a really beautiful symbol to finish the zodiac cycle on, but also something for us to aspire to. Is like, where are you in your rebirth process? Do you need to really review?
We are becoming new humans and cosmic humans, we could call it, from the stellar nations perspective, or homoluminous beings.
Right.
I heard another term. Either way, we're going from a carbon-based to a crystalline-based, more silica in our bodies. So we are changing, our DNA is changing, our consciousness is changing. And part of this is to look at time in a different way and to look at the astrology also as a map, to navigate where we're going in this big process.
And I think the other really beautiful thing is that with this yellow star wave spell is that the energy of Neptune does invite us to go more into the creative space, the arts, the music, writing, poetry, these kinds of things. So again, we're being invited into that space of the heart, which is being supported by some of the other aspects that I just pulled out here. So we've got Mercury in Cancer trining Neptune in Pisces. So Neptune itself being trined there by Mercury. And a couple of things about this, really. It's also enhancing our sense of intuition and inspiring inspirational ideas. And for us to tap into the realms of feelings and sensations and sensuousness, but also to remember to speak kindly to people, to express, we can say, the sweetness from the spoken word, and to not get triggered or polarized and maybe be reactive in situations, but to be in a more place of the heart and speak from that place. So I like that.
And if it happens, not to fill yourself with guilt. Just feel that, okay, I'll have another chance, another go at this. I can do better next time and next time. Because one of the things I've noticed is that when situations arise and you feel like, oh, I didn't respond the way I should, or the other person, or I should have said this, or I should have said that, you feel worse, and then you go into a loop of like feeling guilty or feeling worse. More emotional stuff triggers the other programs that are still there as core wounds. So yeah, let's put the guilt aside, deep breaths, go for a walk, take your time, regather your thoughts, higher perspective, and then, okay, I'm going to give myself another chance. And I know I can do better than that.
Right. And it's funny, you kind of just summed up there really what I've got in my notes here for one of the other aspects, which is Mercury, which has now by this point moved into Leo, opposing Pluto in Aquarius. And some of the energy of that could be about these polarizing ideas in our mind, which I did really bad and now I hate myself. And it's like, that's not helpful, and bouncing between these two things. So we could have this kind of battle of our own minds going on. And again, to be gentle with ourselves and say, hey, hopefully I showed up. I did the best I could. On reflection, maybe I'm not so happy with it. That's okay. I'm going to review what I did and learn from it and maybe make some adjustments. And next time I'm more happy with my performance, but don't beat yourself up.
And just learn from every trigger that is still there. Like, I can still learn more about this one. I haven't quite gotten it.
Right. But if we extrapolate that out to the bigger picture or the bigger narratives in our world, I feel like this is going to help us look at some of the more trixier energies of propaganda. We are entering now in the bigger narrative of the world into the beginnings of election seasons, which of course is basically a big fat excuse for a lot of propaganda from all directions. And so I feel like this energy actually is going to help us to cut through some of that and say, hey, actually, this feels like a load of BS. And what do I think about all of this? And how am I going to make decisions accordingly in the greater narrative of society around me? And I think that we're also being encouraged not to be taken advantage of by these propaganda narratives. So yeah, I understand that how you will, everybody, but I definitely think that we're being asked to have a slightly more kind of razor sharp focus on the narratives being given to us, we can say. And as Pluto edges ever closer to that retrograde back into Capricorn, I feel like that could be a bit of a theme sort of hovering over the end of this or the second half of this year, Bella. So, but yes, Black Moon Lilith by this point has now moved out of the energy of Virgo, and there should be saying here into Libra, not into Leo. So apologies for the typo there. But with this energy now, with Black Moon Lilith moving into the sign of equality and balance, I feel like she's been given this really excellent opportunity for the feminine to speak out about the inequality in our world and the lack of balance of masculine and feminine. So as she's moved out of that very, very feminine energy, we can say, of Venus, which is to do with Mother Earth, and of course, female form is coming into the place of balance, Bella. And I think that's also going to be a big theme moving forwards, is the rebalancing, not of male and female, but of masculine and feminine energies, both within us as individuals, but also within our collective society as we move forwards. So I think that's going to be a thing that we see a lot of, actually, maybe even in upcoming, we can say, political debates or situations, is how is the feminine going to rebalance itself? And of course, here in Mexico, we now have our first female presidenta. So there are changes afoot. So I think that's really positive. And is there anything you'd like to say about that, Bella?
Oh, I think it connects to what we were talking in the beginning, how there is a reset of the masculine and feminine energies on the world stage as well. So it is a moving forward with everything in balance, starting new with the role of women in a different place. There's been lots of different forwards and backwards with groups and different ideas, but I think we're ready to go as equal, knowing that we all have a role, we all have something to contribute, and yeah, a different way of doing things where it's less pyramidal, more inclusive. Everybody has something to say and bring to the table.
Right, and we can also see, looking at this, interestingly, that Black Moon Lilith is in a trine to Sedna, which of course is also, if you know the story of Sedna, is about over here. in what is that, in Gemini. So I feel like we're being given another opportunity to investigate that story of the feminine being able to let go on some level and come fully into the power. The story of Sedna has been shared many times, so no need to repeat it here. But I think that's also another interesting empowerment story of the feminine. So it's like we're kicking off this new Solkin, Bella, with this energy of equality really needing to come through strongly, which I'm sure everyone watching
But
this show will understand.
even what we said from the beginning with the turtle is inviting back the sacred feminine to a different way of doing things, remembering the cycles. Remember, part of the feminine is co-creating with the earth, knowing that we are part of it. So respecting the earth, respecting the water, reconnecting with all of those natural principles, the primordial energies.
Right, and as Black Moon Lilith moves through this wave spell, I picked up the Sabian symbol of the first to second degree of Libra, which I think is really, really beautiful, which she's just moving into. And that is the transmutation of the fruits of past experiences into the seeds of realization of the forever creative spirit.
Beautiful.
Right. So yeah, with the energies of Lilith in Libra and all of these kind of creative experiences from the past, I feel like we're being asked to lean into our direct experiences and say, hey, let me be wise here and make different choices moving forwards, ones that come more from a sense of equality and balance within myself, at least for myself, right?
And the other principle, like of the divine feminine, is less wars, more nurturing, more self-care, more self-love, and thinking of everybody for the highest good for all, not just egocentric decisions.
Right, and of course we've got Neptune highlighted here, so really it's in an outer sign opposition also to Black Moon Lilith. So we're really being asked to, I think, look at many of these bigger questions overarching in our society, particularly of the inequality of the two genders. So I think that's also interesting. But we do also have here a nice trine happening with Saturn at 19 degrees of Pisces, with Venus over here at 19 degrees of Cancer. And this is really good for relationships, both the personal ones, maybe for deepening those ones you're already committed to, but also long-term friendships maybe can go to a different space and allowed to maybe discover new depths. And maybe that's also, Bella, part of the Blue Eagle energy that we've just been in, is starting to meet each other, as I know that we've been experiencing with the Mayan glyphs, people meeting and communicating with each other through the understanding of what their glyphs are, which I think is really something quite incredible.
It's amazing. And, you know, there are thousands of people that have been following all of these new different calendar, the Galactic Mayan calendar. And yeah, they identify each other with their glyphs, with their archetypes, and they meet each other from that knowledge. So it is really beautiful to see a different understanding and level of tolerance and collaboration as well.
So yeah, this was one of the most powerful days in the wave spell, but of course the one that probably catches the eye generally is on the day of liberation, day 11, otherwise known as July the 5th, when we have a new moon at the midpoint of Cancer, 14 degrees and I think 23, 23 minutes, which is interestingly also pretty much bang opposite Ceres at the midpoint of Virgo. So I feel like there's more of the same energy coming through here. Ceres in Virgo is again asking us to look at the maybe the inequalities that have been dealt to the feminine kind over the last couple of millennia, we can say, but also this new moon in Cancer. So the Sabian symbol for this is in a sumptuous dining hall, guests relax after partaking of a huge banquet.
Yay.
Right, that's what I thought. I was just like, I hope there's some tiramisu at the end of that, and maybe a nice glass of something. That all sounds very dapper. Thank you very much. So I feel like this new moon, Bella, with that energy in Cancer, maybe you might have some more to share on that in a second. Is asking us to remember to enjoy ourselves, to celebrate the good things that we have in our life, particularly, I guess, home and family. But it's also a good time to commit to personal goals and for honoring our home and our sort of most deep, intimate feelings, because Cancer is a very emotional sign, right? And maybe a way to do that is to acknowledge the people that you care about by having a wonderful banquet. And it doesn't have to be a state banquet, but it could be something that you cook from the heart for the people that you love. And yeah, this is very much about the energy of home and the family.
I'm worried about my cravings now. I'm all the time eating, and this is gonna make it worse too. But it is telling you to recharge, recharge with that home energy. Pay attention to your needs. What is your body feeling like? What does it need? Does it need more rest? Your mind went through a lot of energy in the Gemini season, so now it needs like to chill as well, recharge, spend time with family. Yeah, it's all about Cancer energy, to be honest. Taking it easy, enjoying home.
Right. So one little piece extra to put into this jigsaw before we perhaps start drawing some conclusions, and that is that we've got a beautiful sextile between Saturn and Mars also happening here that we can see at 19 degrees of Pisces and Taurus. And that gives us a sort of a tremendous amount of drive and endurance and energy for long-term projects, but also in a very sort of methodical and, well-managed way that you could say. So I think that's a really good energy for a new moon, Bella, particularly one that's in the home. And this actually the energy of Saturn sextile Mars is also very conducive for practical DIY kind of experiences or activities. So maybe this is a good time to do some bits and pieces around the house, or maybe to set a long-term project on maybe something for the garden for the house. How, maybe you're going to arrange
To
a
me, it
garden.
feels like it's given the support that we need for what we've been creating. In this wave spell of creation, we've been given the support and to be able to shine and show what we have and how far we've come, how mature we are now, how disciplined we are. We're ending the sulking. So, okay, let's see what you've learned and what you've been able to put together in those 260 days. What do you have to show?
Right. So if we put all of this into the context of the final wave spell of the year, we've got a new moon, which is always a great intention setting moment anyway. And we've got a new year ahead of us, literally just a few days after that. We've got a galactic portal on the 13th day, the day of transcendence. And so we've got these energies to really, I think, to focus the mind. If we can see the gestalt now perhaps more clearly for the astrology during this wave spell, to me it seems very much about getting settled, getting calm, being surrounded by the things that make you feel comfortable, the people you like to hang out with, and using that time maybe just to rest a little, but also to think into the future and to dream, to review all of the things that have happened and say, okay, well, that worked out well, let's do more of the same, or maybe that could have gone a little better, let's make some adjustments, but also to review our longer term aspirations, and maybe even with the last Zolkin that we've just gone through, to assess and say, hey, well, at the beginning of this period, I thought I really wanted to do this, but now I'm here, I'm feeling a bit different about this, and maybe I need to make some adjustments. So to use this time in the home to make adjustments for whatever our next yearly plan is.
Change your habits, review your habits. How are you going to move forward with this new reality that we're creating? How are your habits changing? Are you ready to, is your structure ready to go into something different for your new reality? Are you making room for that to happen? You may need to make a few adjustments so that your life, the way you want it to look, can fit in there. And this July is really important because we're coming to the end of the Solkin and the end of the 13 moons. So we're going to start a new Solkin and a new lunar cycle. And this new moon, it's also telling us about, how we have 2 full moons in July, is the reversal of the lunar, again, the lunar reversal. So there are a lot of movements here, a lot of emotions could come up to the surface because we are readjusting the astrological clock with the moon. We're coming to a new lunar calendar in the Mayan cosmology. So lots of movement when it comes to emotions and the moon affecting us. So to keep an eye on that, I think.
Right, that's a really good point. We did sort of get a little bit off kilter, we can say, I think around about April, May of last year, or March, April time, and we ended up having these similar situation of 2 moons, 2 full moons back to back in the same sign. And so it almost feels a bit like, Bella, that we've gone through this just over a year period of somehow upside down, slightly back to front energy, which I would say is a little bit how it's felt at times. But then we have the full moon literally at the beginning of the second wave spell of the White Wizard of the new Zolkin. So that will be at 29 degrees of Capricorn. So we've got this one that's in the first degree and the next one that's in the last degree, somehow bookending the experiences of Capricornian energy. So for those of you with anything in Capricorn, I definitely recommend having a little bit of a look at that and saying, well, how is this going to play out? So I think that's also very interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, so it feels like a big review of how much we have, how far have we come, how mature have we, how much we have changed and transformed in all of these cycles. And now it's like everything is rearranging, recalibrating, and okay, get ready to start something new on a higher level.
Right. So that is it on the astrology front for this wave spell. Quite a bit to take in there, but this is our plant at the moment for sure. Beautiful, very timely plant for the Northern Hemisphere. St. Johns Wort, Hypericum perforatum. Myself and my good buddy Pete Jackson Main, a longtime herbalist and quantum plant guy as well. We did a deep dive on this recently, just over on quantumplanet.world. But just to talk a little bit, some highlights of what came out of that wonderful deep dive video, we can say that St. John's Wort is really an extension of sunlight, and it really is at its peak power, like right now in these days, since the solstice until the Feast of St. John on June the 24th. But this is a plant that I've always connected to the crown chakra, where we receive light into the field. And so what it does is it tries to catch as much sunlight as it can. It's a bit like a plant in that regard. It's trying to catch as much photosynthesis energy as it can into the rest of our field. But if our crown chakra is blocked for whatever reason, that can be a little tricky. But this plant really is here to help us receive and absorb and hold as much light as possible. And it does that through protecting us with the idea of perforations, or the fact that it protects against perforations. And when we have a perforation in our field, this is something akin to a rip or a leak. So we can sometimes lose energy that way, or even perhaps absorb other energies that are not so helpful. So this plant really, really allows us at this time of year to receive the maximum amount of energy that it can. And it also, in doing so, helps us to dispel those denser energies and attachments that the light will force up and out. Which I would suggest is good, you know, for everybody at this time. So we can really work with the sunlight and work with St. John in that way. But just going to bring this up on the screen there, Bella, just to share so that people can see. We also put this over on QPW in our brand new group, Quantum Plant Alchemy, which is really Quantum Plant Healing 2.0. And you can see here the video you can purchase for just $13 and access at any point. A real information-packed, almost 2-hour deep dive into the energetics and herbal qualities of this wonderful plant, St. John's Wort.
Nice.
Yeah, so please do. I'd recommend, I know you've been taking tincture, Bella, of this plant, and I've been taking the essence. And for sure, it's definitely helped me to navigate some of the more choppy energies of the last couple of weeks.
I have a tincture. It's really red and intense. It's super strong. I bought it here in Texas. But yeah, it's beautiful. So it protects your energy, your light body, right?
Yeah, it protects your light body, and in doing so, of course, protects your physical body, because the moment we have lower frequency energy coming into our energy field and maybe entering through a perforation, it can start to maybe have an effect on our physical body, which is not helpful. So definitely we recommend taking St. John's Wort. Definitely recommend going out and harvesting it. Actually, any time to collect it over these next few days, the energy is going to be at its peak. It doesn't mean after these days don't collect it, but this is just one of those optimum moments that certain plants like. And also just to give a good shout out to our friend Lady Mugwort. She's also at the peak of her energy right now, and I've often found that interesting, Bella, again, that it's almost like St. John's Wort is for the solstice, and this year we could have had Mugwort with the full moon, because she's a very full moon lunar kind of a plant. So if you have Mugwort in your area, also recommend gathering some of that, because it's also at its fullest of its energy. So that's about it for today, I think. Bella, is there anything else that we need to flag up?
Do you want to mention anything about the navigation guide?
Yeah, so the next chapter, chapter 4 of the navigation guide to quantum consciousness, is about to come out. And maybe if I just pull this up on, you've got it there already. Okay. See, do you want to talk about this, Bella, from here?
Right. So we have started this navigation guide to quantum consciousness. It's a galactic atlas for New Earth. And it's a series of chapters. It's going to be 13 chapters. And they show you from the beginning, which is the principle of magnetism. We bring lots of different principles, from Hermetic principles to Mayan, to lots of things that both Davyd and I have in our in our little bags of what we have gathered through the years. And so we give you the step by step on how to manifest, how to create, how to move a project forward, or simply how to raise your consciousness to be more quantum. I had somebody who said, well, I don't have anything that I want to manifest. And what you wanted was to raise the level of vibration and to feel better about herself. And that's fine. Whatever you want to achieve, it's about raising your vibration and your consciousness. So this is what we're trying to achieve with those chapters. We have released 1, 2, and 3. Do you want to share the website? Do you have it there?
Yeah, I just pulled it up on the screen. Can you see that?
Yes.
So here you can see the chapters that have already unfolded. They can all be accessed at any time for just $26 each. They're long, lots of information, as Bella said. We're coming from our own different modalities, different cultural backgrounds. But really, once you get into this series, you'll start to understand what we're doing is deep diving on each of the energies, we can say, of the different tones of the 13-day cycle, right? So the first one is about aligning our compass. The second one is about the power of counterbalance. And then we get into the power of activation, right, Bella, with the spark of light. And so chapter 4 is a continuation of that, which is about
form. How do we give form and structure to what we are creating? And that's coming out this week, in a couple of days, actually.
It will be coming out at the beginning of the yellow magnetic star, as we always do. We're always working in fractal time here, everybody. We've realized that it's actually a lot easier and it's much more coherent. And the more you get into the practice of it, the more you'll be surprised at how your perception of time changes. And you can also use it for things like healing processes, as I've been finding out with my accelerated healing with my feet, but also you can use it for manifestation and really giving that energy to your bigger aspirational dreams, or maybe your smaller ones too. But I think really what we're learning here, Bella, is about the construct of our reality and the different frequencies that make it up. And just what an amazing piece of technology the encrypted Mayan time spells and we can say frequencies of the cosmos really are.
Yep. I think that's that from us, right? That was a lengthy one.
Yeah, a little bit over the hour mark for today, but thank you everybody for listening. I know that me and Bella are both very excited about the end of this year and the beginning of the Zolkin, and we really, Bella, right, are feeling that this is the time to make some big shifts. I know that we've been doing it ourselves pretty much since we met, sort of falling more and more into working only with Mayan time and slowly letting go of the Gregorian calendar, to the point where it's actually been quite difficult to keep track of the days recently. And we're not the only ones saying that, right? Some of our other tribe members have also been in the same process and seeing the effect on their perception of time.
Yeah, because your mind perceives time. When you perceive time in a different way, you also create a reality within those containers. That is, you can manifest quicker, you can achieve your goals quicker, and you start stepping into a different reality that is more of what you like and you want, because you are living it from a different perspective.
Right. So we could say that we're repairing and reclaiming time for not just ourselves, but if we all do it, then we're going to be doing it for the collective, which I think is something really worth considering, as Saturn has guided us to do over the next few months, as maybe we start to perceive the reality around us that we've been living in for so long. Maybe it's difficult for us to think about anything else, but when we start to work with an incredible piece of cosmological technology like the Mayan system, we've already been given something that's going to actually not just shift us out of this epoch ending period, but into something completely different. And I think that maybe within a year to 2 years, Bella, we could see very much a whole different reality working with different time signatures like the Mayan one.
Yeah. So I want to invite everybody to dream, keep on dreaming, create something beautiful, and shine your light. Dare to shine your light.
Right. Aho to that, everybody. So thank you,
Yes.
Bella, as always, for putting together the Mayan side of things. Hopefully you've all found that interesting. We love putting these shows together because actually it helps us also organize our energy flow. And that's really what this is all about. It's just flowing forwards and being with time as your ally, rather than often, I think in the Western world, we see time as an enemy because we don't have enough of it, apparently, all of which, of course, is not true. So enjoy your time, everybody, with the Yellow Magnetic Star, and we will see you all again, not just for another episode of Quantum Compass, but maybe for a Quantum Compass Zolkin special. So watch
Yes.
for that too.
Okay. In Lak'ech, I'm another you.
In Lakesh,
Bye.
ciao, everybody. Bye.